President Trump's pick to be the acting director of national intelligence is getting mixed reviews from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. The president asked Bill Pulte to do the job on an interim basis. He is currently the director of the federal housing finance industry, and for the foreseeable future, he's going to do both of those jobs at the same time.
There's quite a bit of that going around right now. In the face of questions about Pulte's qualification to be the country's spy chief, Pulte doesn't have a security clearance, for one instance. Trump said he doesn't intend to nominate him permanently for the job. Republican Congressman Greg Steube sits on the House Permanent Select Committee for Intelligence, and we asked him what he thinks of the guy currently in the role.
Yeah, I think what you've seen from the president is he's appointing people that he trusts in these different positions. Former Senator Marco Rubio, who's Secretary of State, wears like 4 hats right now. I think a lot of these positions, the president's probably going to wait to the midterms and kind of see how the races flush out, see how the House flushes out. I don't know Bill Pulte. I've never met him. Obviously, the president trusts him. I do have concerns with his lack of a security background, but if he's going to do what the president is asking him to do, I don't see a problem with that for a short-term basis. He's just, kind of filling in. It'd be like having the deputy take over, but obviously it's somebody that the president trusts. I do hope that he comes into the Intelligence Committee. I sit on Intel. If he's going to be there for a period of time, he should come into the committee, introduce himself, give us an opportunity to get to know him and ask him questions about how he's going to take over and transition from Tulsi and what that's going to look like from the DNI perspective.
I go back to something that you just mentioned. That is, Marco Rubio served on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, had a background in national security and foreign policy. Bill Pulte doesn't have that background. Unclear if he even has a security clearance. How much pause does that give you when you say you're comfortable with him being there on an interim basis? How long is the right amount of time as you see it? When do you think this needs to be filled permanently?
Well, like I said, he needs to come in and talk to the committee. I don't know him. I imagine a number of the members of the committees don't know him. I certainly would hope that the people that take these different positions have an intel background. Most of the people that sit on the committee have an intel background. It's kind of a unique skill set. It takes people that have worked in that world before, because obviously everything that we deal with is classified. So that's obviously something that would be good for that person to have that type of background. I'm not saying he can't do the job. I just don't know his capabilities, which is why I think it's really important for him to come in, introduce himself to the Intel Committee, and open it up for an opportunity for members to get to know him a little bit and talk about how he's going to transition from Tulsi's leadership for the past year and a half into however long he's going to be there and what that looks like.
I want to go back to something else you just said, which is you're referencing Marco Rubio wearing multiple hats. And it does feel like there are fewer and fewer people in that national security apparatus advising the president, because, as you said, he is appointing people he knows previously and trusts and asking them to expand their portfolios. Are you at all concerned that the president is appointing people who will say yes to him and he's not getting enough honest opinions from these loyal soldiers that are close to him on some very important national security issues?
No, I mean, Marco, obviously, and the president have a history from when Marco ran against him previously in a presidential race. I've known Marco Rubio since he was running for the U.S. Senate and I was running for the state house almost 16 years ago. So I have a lot of faith in Marco. Obviously, the president does too, which is why he's appointed him to different positions. There's a lot of staff in the National Security Advisor in the National Security Council. So you have a lot of people that are probably there that are operating as National Security Advisor and then advising Marco, who's advising the president. So those different positions have a fair amount of staff that work underneath them that can support those roles. So, we haven't had a National Security Advisor since Waltz left and went over to the UN. So, again, it hasn't obviously affected the performance of the administration. Hegseth's been able to operate just fine on the Department of War, and same with Marco.
I also want to ask you, President Trump told the Wall Street Journal that he told Bill Pulte to start firing culling intelligence community employees. There is some bipartisan support for making that DNI office a little bit smaller, a little more streamlined. Do you support that effort? Do you think that's a good idea, or do you think this is not the time to be cutting intelligence officers, given that America is at war with a couple fronts, but mainly Iran?
Well, when Tulsi came in, she started that. Obviously, when you have a transition of administrations, you're going to have an exodus of individuals that don't believe in what the administration is doing, and there is a lot of non-confidence in our intelligence community because of the spying on Trump's campaign, on all of the things that they did with Russia, the collusion hoax, and all of the things that happened. So anybody that was affiliated with any of that, obviously the president and this administration is not going to want that. I don't want that. I don't think there should be people in our intelligence apparatus that are using policy or politics to go after certain candidates. That's not the purpose of the IC. And if those people need to be cleaned out, I fully support doing that.
I know we want to talk a little bit here about legislation that's passed and legislation that's coming to the House in the coming days. So let me start there. We had the Senate pass this funding for immigrations and customs enforcement, Customs and Border Patrol as well. Big package, $70 billion. That's now going to the House. What's your sense of the timing there, and is that a bill that you're intending to support?
Well, yes, I 100% support it. The House has passed 4 bills to fund all of DHS. It's crazy that we've had to go through reconciliation just to fund CBP and ICE. I was hopeful that we could vote on that on Friday after it came over, but I guess there wasn't enough time to do that, and there were members that were traveling. That's the biggest challenge in the House right now is attendance. You've got several members that are running for the U.S. Senate or governors, and in primaries, South Carolina is on Tuesday. You got 2 members in the House that are running in that race, so attendance becomes a challenge. I hope we can pass that as soon as we get back next week, either Monday or Tuesday, but obviously the whip operation is going to have to ensure that we have enough people there to get it out. I 100% know it'll pass. We just need to make sure that we have more Republicans present than Democrats. I think that'll pass on a straight party line vote.
You worried about Tom Keene Jr., where he is? I mean, you're talking about the importance here of having a full caucus for these votes. Have you gotten any indication of when he's coming back and where he is and what's going on?
I don't know him that well. I think I've met him once or twice. Yes, that is an absolute concern of having, we have like a 2 or 3 vote majority. And when you have people like Massey who vote against most of the rules, obviously you have a 1 or 2 vote majority. So if you have people absent, and if you look at the vote totals, the Dems have people absent too, but not as much as we do. It greatly affects our ability to pass bills. So just having people there is very important. So hopefully we'll have at least somewhat full attendance. I would imagine every Republican is going to vote for the ICE and CBP reconciliation bill. And as long as we have the votes there, they'll bring that up as soon as they can. I hope we can get it out by Tuesday to get that to the president's desk.
One of the things that didn't make it into that bill was some language kind of precluding this $1.7 billion anti-weaponization fund from the DOJ. The acting attorney general has said that they're not going to pursue that anymore, but the president said he's not sure it's dead yet and he's going to talk to the lawyers. What is your take on that? Would you support language precluding that fund from happening, or would you support that fund from going forward?
So there's been a fund at the DOJ for years that has done this. Like I read an article where like Carter Page and Peter Strzok, who used and weaponized the intelligence community to go after President Trump, got awarded because they went after their text messages or something. So this is a fund that's been around for a while.
But it hasn't been used to quite this capacity. And this, the original plan was to set up, these panels that would decide how to distribute this. It seems like that has gone away. But would you support it if it came back in principle in this form?
Well, like I said, it's been in place for a long time. The administration has it's just gotten rebranded. So unfortunately, we're not even going to get the opportunity to look at that because it wasn't able to get through the Senate. But I think that having some type of fund to be able to help people who have been a victim of weaponization by the federal government is absolutely something that we should look at and support. But there's not the votes in the Senate. I doubt there's the votes for the House. It became a very political issue. After Trump kind of rebranded it and it became this January 6th thing, which wasn't, in my understanding, the intent. It was anybody that was a victim of weaponization, whether it was through the IRS, whether it was through the DOJ, whether it was through any of these different agencies. So it sounds like it's dead because it's not in the Senate bill, and I don't see it getting resurrected because of the political fallout that's come.
Last question just about Iran. We keep hearing from the president that we're close to a deal. Then we kind of are in this position where we're waiting to see what happens. Iran's pushing back on that. Help us understand how you're looking at the prospects of a deal coming together, because you're on the intel committee, as we've discussed. You have insight into sort of what Iran is thinking and doing, what we know of what they're thinking and doing. You hear what the president's saying. How do you square both things, and where do you see this going from here?
Well, I served in the Middle East. I served in Iraq in 06 and 07 in the Army. And I will tell you that you cannot believe anything that the Iranians tell you. You have to look at what they're doing. Even if they sign an agreement, even when they signed the horrible deal that gave them billions of dollars that they weren't going to go after a nuclear a warhead, they still did it, and they wouldn't allow inspectors in. They violated the agreement. So you have to look at what actions they're actually taking, not what they're saying, because what they're saying is not ever the case. So that's the challenge that the administration is dealing with, is if they say that they're going to do something, then they don't do it. How do they react to that? I mean, obviously, the world wants this to get resolved and wants peace, but at the same time, even Barack Obama and Biden didn't want them to get a nuclear weapon. So even Democrats agree that that can't happen. So we have a president that finally has the courage to take that on. But again, you can't believe what they're telling you to do until they're actually going to do the actions that require on the agreement.
Congressman, I know you're short on time, but before you let you go, you said the JCPOA was a horrible agreement. We have some colleagues here at Bloomberg who've done an analysis of what was in that agreement and what has been proposed, what we know of what has been proposed from the White House. They're pretty similar. Can you tell me one thing that you think President Trump is going to get out of the Iranians that wasn't in that first deal?
Well, the first is giving them billions of dollars. The president has multiple times said that was a horrible idea. I think that's a horrible idea. Why would you give open up billions of dollars to the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world? So I think the president has been very clear: no nuclear weapons. We get the nuclear dust. You open the Strait of Hormuz, and you're not the largest state sponsor of terror in the world, and you're not going to sponsor terrorism throughout the world. I think if they do those three things, which to me is pretty easy, I think you'd have a pretty simple agreement that doesn't greenlight billions of dollars of cash to the regime.
Congressman Steube, thank you very much for the time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, good to see you guys.